We're 3 years out from a World Cup here. What do you hope that the World Cup coming here, the Club World Cup for 2 years, what do you hope the trigger can be here? Because obviously there are various issues that don't sit that comfortably with FIFA's respect. FIFA, you use the words equality. So what progress needs to be made here to catch up with football's values?
Well, I think, and that's the way I see it, of course, football, when we speak about football and the impact that football can have in terms of human rights generally, of understanding, of respect. Listen, I said it already, I don't think that football can change the world, right? But football can certainly have a positive impact on the world. And if we compare the situation here in Qatar, for example, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, to today, well, the situation has become already much, much, much better. If we think about workers' rights, for example, and it's not me saying it, it's the UN, it's the trade unions and so on saying that. Without the World Cup, without football, this would not have happened. I was speaking about Iran. For 40 years in Iran, women were not allowed to go to football stadiums. We went there, I went there. I was criticized for going there. I was criticized for speaking to President Rouhani about it. But I believe that rather than staying and sitting in my office in Zurich, I have to be on the ground, I have to speak with people. And this is as well the role of football. And without football, this would not have happened. And thanks to football, women are allowed to go into stadiums. Does this change anything dramatic in Iran? I don't know, but it has certainly a big symbolic value, and I will go back early in the new year to see also some club games in Iran where women can go into the stadium. So I think we are going through a progress and a process as well. It took us in Europe a few thousand years to arrive where we are now. In other parts of the world, and this we have to understand it as well, in other parts of the world, a lot of progress is done and has to be done in a very short time frame. So to address it with, I think, a little bit of goodwill, a little bit of understanding, without immediately hammering and shooting, is certainly my way of doing things. And I think that little by little and step by step, conditions are improving everywhere in the world.
Mr. President, you talk glowingly about what FIFA has done, and I think we're all full of admiration for many things in that respect. But can football be a unifying force beyond the areas that you've discussed? Why is it, for instance, that Mesut Ozil has been cast to the fringes of society for his views on Muslim minorities in China? And when is FIFA ever going to do anything serious about tackling racism?
Well, I think we are doing some serious things already. Of course, it's never enough. And, the excuse of football is a mirror of society or this kind of stuff. And that's why if there is racism in society, there is racism as well in football. It's the same as for corruption. If there is corruption in society, there is corruption in football. So we have to live with that. That's not something that we accept and that we like. And for this, we need to act. The question is how to act. We can act by, as I was saying, sitting, making press releases or press statements, criticizing everyone who doesn't think like we do, or realize that FIFA is a world governing body. We have 211 members. These member countries, where there are billions of people playing or cheering for football, have leaders, have political systems or ones or others, democracies or other systems. We will not be able to change that from one day to the other, but we have to do something for the people. We have to bring football to the people. Many people were criticizing Russia before the World Cup. Many people are still criticizing Russia, but those who went to the World Cup, they've discovered that actually, there are people living there, and you can also have a good time there, and you can bring some smile and some joy to people and start changing their lives concretely, like we are doing or we try to do in Iran. We bring football to Qatar, we bring football to China. We had here, the situation with the neighboring countries here in the Middle East. Well, we had a Saudi team playing in the Club World Cup with fans coming. We had the Gulf Cup 2 weeks ago, which is the most important tournament in the region, where all the countries of the region came to Qatar to play a football event, and the final was Bahrain against Saudi Arabia. So football can do a little bit. When it comes to racism...
Granted, but it is still the case that a footballer can be fined more for sponsoring his underpants than it is a country can be for abusing footballers on a pitch, isn't it?
Well, I think the point is that we need to do something meaningful for the people. There is a commercial part, which is one element, and there is the social part, which is the other element. We have, since I arrived in FIFA, and I don't want to speak about me, but we have appointed a woman as General Secretary, not from Western Europe. In 112 years of history before, all General Secretaries were either Swiss or French or German. We have now 3 women or 4 women in the management board. We have 6 women in our executive board. These are steps. When it comes to racism, you were mentioning racism before as well. Well, we have a 3-step process. We are not the organizers of the competitions except for the World Cup, right? But we have established a 3-step process, which when I was in UEFA, we actually introduced.
But your voice is extremely influential. One thing that you've avoided at the moment is words of support for Mesut Ozil. Do you have any?
Well, I have words of support for the whole world. We have 211 countries in the world. We have plenty of people in the world, and I support everyone that says anything, whether it's in England, in China, in Turkey, in Russia, or in Saudi Arabia. I am in this position. I'm president of 211 member associations of football. We believe in freedom of speech. We believe in human rights. We are the first organization who has introduced a policy on human rights. But we have to respect and we have to understand that progress needs to be made on a step-by-step level. And I prefer to go to the countries. I prefer to speak with the people. I prefer to bring football everywhere in the world and to try to change, to try to improve the situation for everyone in all the countries in the world on a step-by-step process.
When you took this job on in 2016, you're obviously inheriting a lot of issues. Was there ever a conversation within FIFA to think, let's wipe the slate clean, reopen the bidding process and not have the World Cup in Qatar?
No. Why?
You inherited a situation of there was a corruption investigation, there was issues about workers' rights. Did you think it would be better for FIFA to reopen the bidding process for the new presidency and think maybe we can take the World Cup somewhere else?
No, I didn't think that because first, because I was not there, because all these investigations at the end of the day, I mean, the World Cup was awarded in 2010, I think. In 2016, in spite of all the rumors, there was no conclusive evidence on anything anywhere. So for me, it was clear from day one or before even day one that, at some stage, you need to live with what you have and move forward. And I want to believe, because the same situation was with regard to Russia. The same questions that you are asking me, I was asked when I came in about Russia and Qatar. Because also there were rumors and this and that. And we organized the World Cup and it was the best World Cup ever. Not for football only, but for the people and for what this meant for Russian people as well as for those who discovered Russia. So I believe in the World Cup in Qatar. I believe in the World Cup in the Arab world as well. It is decided. We have made a bidding process for 2026, and that's actually also an important step because nobody of you spoke about it. Why? Because it was done in a transparent way, in an open way, in a clear way. We had no scandal. But let's use the World Cup here in the Middle East to do something positive, to change maybe the way in which we, in the western part of the world, look at the Arab part of the world. Maybe if we can do that, even just a little bit, by opening ourselves up, well, then we have already achieved something.
Making a small change of game to go to the pitch. What is coming next in the football with the new style of FIFA to do the organization of football? And what will happen to improve the video refereeing that is really a great assistant, but it don't finish with the troubles on the field?
Well, what is coming next? Already a Club World Cup in 2021, which will be the best club competition in the world. And I'm saying this because I believe in it. Because even what we have seen here the last couple of days, I mean, Liverpool-Monterrey has not been a 5-0 result, but it's actually been quite a tough and tight match. So there is quality around the world. There is passion for football around the world. So the Club World Cup will be a big, big event. For the rest, in terms of what is coming on the pitch and in terms of competitions, well, I just ask myself some questions because I'm speaking to many people and I'm listening to many people, as you are. And nobody's really happy with the current systems a little bit everywhere, right? With national team games, the qualification, I mean, you have, I don't know, an England-Kosovo game, but if 3 days before you have the Manchester Derby and 3 days later you have a Champions League game between Liverpool and whatever, Barcelona, you know, who cares about the national team game of England against Kosovo? You have too many games, the top players play too much, the competitions are boring because, you know, maybe except for England, maybe some others, you know the winner already before the start of the season. It's more important to arrive fourth than to arrive first. I mean, so there are many questions which are there in the room, in Europe, but also in other parts of the world who try to catch up with Europe and who don't manage to catch up with Europe. So we need to think, I think, on the international match calendar, we need to think on how to balance national team and club football better, on what kind of competitions the future of football will have to bring us. We need to debate, we need to discuss, and we need to say maybe we stay as we are, and maybe we change a few things, and maybe we do a big revolution. I don't know. What I'm there for is to, how shall I say, foster the debate, have a good discussion about these things, and then we see where we go. When it comes to VAR, we are in 2019. VAR has been officialized in 2018. For the first time it was used in an international competition was the World Cup in 2018, officially, because we decided only in March, before it was a test phase. And we are speaking about VAR as it was there for 100 years. You know, it's like VAR, and everyone is using the word or the term or the VAR for kind of anything in political life, in business life, in social life. A term, and some say did not exist. This means what? This means that for too many years, FIFA and football have been living in the past. We have now embraced a modern way of looking at it. I myself was very skeptical about VAR. We started it, we did it, I think, successfully, but it's not me, it's also the figures which say that. It doesn't solve every problem, of course it doesn't. But it certainly ends the scandal decisions. The handball goals, the penalties in or out the area, the big offside decisions. There is no more match which is decided by a scandal. There are discussions because we all know in football, when you win, it's you. When you lose, it's never you. It's before it was the referee or whatever, the president of FIFA, doesn't matter. And now it's the referee or the VAR, or the referee because he didn't check the VAR, or the VAR because he didn't tell the referee, or whatever. So we need always to find an excuse, but these cases are always cases where you can have different interpretations, different decisions, and at the end, somebody must decide. The referee has to decide. So if, and I said this already in the past, and I want to say it again, if we look, and this should be recognized in all these topics that we are discussing today, if we look at progress and what progress means in a dictionary, progress means better than before. I think nobody can dispute that VAR makes football better than before because it makes it cleaner without changing the nature of the game.
That's an opinion, Mr. President, but
it's not an opinion.
It's an opinion.
It's not an opinion
I think there
because
are many that are still very, very unhappy about the introduction of VAR. In England, 24 goals have been disallowed this season in the Premier League as a result of VAR because a forward's nose is longer than the defender's. It's been described as not fit for purpose in many respects. But you say the referee ultimately has to have the final say. Does that mean the English are using it incorrectly by shifting the decision into a VAR bunker?
Well, I think there is a protocol, and the protocol has to be used. I'm not.
So I mean, the English using it incorrectly?
I'm not. I mean, I couldn't comment on the precise because I don't know.
Well,
the English situation. There is Pierluigi Collina.
You must be as aware of it as I am.
No, I'm not as aware as you. I'm watching football.
I
am watching football. If you let me speak as well.
So it becomes VR, video refereeing, as opposed to the assistant to the referee.
Exactly. If it is not used as video assistant refereeing, then it's used wrongly. That is clear, because that's what the protocols say. As I said, I am watching some games all over the world. I'm not focusing only on England. In Italy, they say it's great. The English are right, the Italians are wrong. In Spain, it's more positive than negative, so the Spanish are wrong, the English are right.
Should have the final say.
The match, of course, the referee has always the final say. He has always the final say. The referee has always the final say. And, you know, the difference, maybe the difference, and this should also be accepted and recognized, between the situation in England and the situation, I don't know, in Italy, is that in Italy, VAR is used now for the third year. In England, it's for the first year. Let's have this discussion again in 1 year or in 2 years' time. And then we will see, you know, we can always find what doesn't work. But let's see already what works. In the World Cup, without VAR, 95% of the decisions were correct, which is already very good. With VAR,
were those decisions
99,
independently were they independently verified, or were they made by those that were actually implementing the system?
The referee, these are referees' decisions.
So the referees were refereeing themselves in judging whether the decisions were correct or otherwise.
Of course, but that's what they have to do.
But shouldn't there be an independent body that sits and makes decisions?
But who is independent if not the referee? The referee is independent. The referee is independent. Then you have an assistant referee, a video assistant referee, who is telling him, go to watch this again, or you should watch this again. And then he decides. If he has seen it and it's clear, he decides.
Just to be clear on this.
Yes.
Your message to Premier League referees in terms of going to check the monitors is what? Do you believe they should be going to check the pitch side monitors before they make those key decisions?
Well, when they have doubts, of course.
Because they haven't done it once this season.
Well, then maybe they should start doing it. Well, I didn't know that they didn't do it once, you see. But maybe they should. Maybe they should. Because it gives them an additional view. And this is what all the referees are telling us, that it helps them. You go, you see, I mean, you have to decide. The job of a referee is so difficult. I mean, these guys are heroes. You are all criticizing them. We are all criticizing them. The clubs are criticizing them. Nobody's happy with the referees. Let's help them. And they have to accept the help. And that's what they all say. They have a safety net when they are not sure, or when somebody who sees the images is telling them, go and check, they can go and check.
What would you say to supporters in the Premier League who believe that VAR is killing football?
That VAR is helping football, is making football more just and more clean. And that if sometime we have to wait 30 seconds, 1 minute, even 2 minutes, but we have a game-changing decision which is taken correctly instead of wrongly, you know, then we should use that. And that, of course, VAR will improve, will develop, will have automatized offsides and all these kind of things, because that's what technology will give us today or tomorrow.
Would you like to see the offside law changed?
How?
Perhaps the feet only?
Well, maybe, I don't know. These are discussions that we can have at IFAB, whether...
Or maybe the Americans are right,
we can...
Mr. President.
Well, if I could answer, it would be nice. And then when I finish, you can maybe ask me.
Yeah, I'm trying to help you. Maybe the Americans
Yeah.
are right, that if you look at a decision on the screen and you can plainly see a player is offside, fine. But if it's the minutiae of a long nose or a toenail, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
But it is, because it's not the long nose or toenail. These are examples which are done by people who don't know the rules or who are not looking into
Now, I know the
into
laws of the game.
decisions.
They're not rules, of course, are they? They are
No,
laws.
They are laws of the games, exactly. Sorry for my English.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's not my mother tongue, so sometimes I
understand.
still make some
But
mistakes.
I've watched the laws
so
of the
people should
game
know
for
the laws
35
of the
years.
game, and nowhere in the laws of the game you speak about the nose or about the little finger or things like that. So I think there is also a little bit of not right knowledge of the laws of the game. Having said that, of course, offside and handball are these two situations which we need to constantly analyze and see how we can and if we can improve.
Are you aware of
these
the
are
difference-
difficult topics.
Are you aware of the differences between handball in England, where a ball can brush an arm of a forward and a goal be disallowed, but hit the arm of a defender and yet a penalty not be awarded? How can there be two interpretations of the handball law?
Well, I think that with regard to handball, we have tried at the IFAB to clarify the instances. We thought that by clarifying the interpretations, in which cases we consider it is handball, in which cases we don't consider it's handball, in which case a goal has to be disallowed or awarded, or a hand foul has to be given or not. We enumerated all the cases, a lot of different cases. And then it's the interpretation of the referee which comes on top of that. And if the arm is like that or like that, 2 centimeters higher or lower, it depends on the dynamic. He was turning and so on. There are many different elements. Is it clear enough? Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe we have to look at it a little bit more. But already it's important to understand all the different instances, because sometimes the answer can be found in the laws of the game, sometimes not. And unfortunately, there are times as well where interpretation is still necessary.
Do you have any concerns that VAR is damaging the reputation and the image of the game?
No, no way. I mean, I've been watching recently a documentary about Maradona. You should all watch that.
Watched it. Sensational.
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 Sensational. But look at the game. Look at wait. Look at the game. At how these guys were playing, not 150 years ago, 20 years ago, or 30 years ago. The fouls, the tackles, the mistakes of the referees. The mistakes of the referees. These things have disappeared with VAR. Yes, we discussed a little bit offside more. Should we make is it a few centimeters or not? Should we clarify that? Yes, maybe. Maybe the foot, maybe there should be light between the attacker and the defender to give even more advantage to the attacker. I don't know. These are discussions we need to have. But if you compare this with what was happening some years ago,
Although any
it's
efficient official would have seen
incredible
that
change.
handball, wouldn't they, really? We didn't need VAR for that. Everybody in the stadium saw it, Jan. Everybody.
I was not there.
Except the officials.
I was
There
not
we
there.
are.
Are we done on VAR? We'll continue this.
Thank you.
For many hours.
Yes,
That's what football,
it's here to stay, so...
that's what football fans do. You know, it gets people
Exactly.
talking, doesn't it? You talked about looking at the football calendar, and you know,
Absolutely.
everything seems to be getting bigger. The Club World Cup's getting bigger. The Euros are getting bigger. Not the next, but the following World Cup's going to get bigger. As you look to sort of get some control, you know, you're talking about players playing too many games,
Yeah.
teams. Would you look to have a greater influence on club football? It suggests that you're looking for ideas as to how FIFA can perhaps generate a new competition even on top of the ones we've already got. Is that in the pipeline? Is that in your plans?
What is...
A Super League of some, a global Super League of some
No,
description?
what is on the pipeline is the Club World Cup. What I have, what I can see, and what everyone I think can see around the world, is that today we have in the world, and you are all from privileged part of the world in terms of football, we have maybe 10, 12 clubs which are kind of up there, and they are from 4 or 5 countries in Europe, and the rest of the world is far, far, far away from that. My vision, I said this, and it has been, I've been reading, or I've been told, maybe been misinterpreted. My vision is that instead of having 10 or 12 clubs in the world, which are all from 4 or 5 countries in Europe, we should have maybe 50 clubs. This doesn't mean a World Cup, a Club World Cup of 50 clubs. We should have in the world 50 clubs who can be at more or less the same level. When we see, I don't know, tomorrow we have the final Liverpool-Flamengo. Liverpool has how many fans in England? 10 million, 15, 20, I don't know. Bit less? Okay. 5?
Big global region. Yeah, big global, huge.
Okay. How many in the world? Hundreds. 100, 200, I don't know. Flamengo has in Brazil 40 million supporters. 40. And in the world? 41. Exactly, 41. Flamengo has a very rich history, like Liverpool. Why can we not think that tomorrow, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years from now, Flamengo can be at the same level as Liverpool in terms of financial resources, in terms of worldwide impact? Flamengo or New York or Los Angeles or Beijing or Tokyo or Doha or Dubai, or it doesn't matter. This is the vision that I think we need to see how we can implement it. Then the question is, how can we implement it? And to implement it, we need first, of course, to ask ourselves the questions that everyone is asking. Because everyone wants to do things better or more or this or that. And in football, we are not on a first come, first saved position. What I want to say is that when I joined UEFA in the year 2000, UEFA was commercializing, organizing around 500 games in 4 years. When I left UEFA in 2016, UEFA was commercializing 2,500 games in the same 4-year period. I think the majority of leagues in the world started or were until a few years ago or a few decades ago with 16 teams, then became 18, then it became 20, then a League Cup came, then a National Cup came, and so on and so forth. So everyone is adding, but we cannot now say everything is full and we cannot do anything anymore. We have to rethink what can we do better. We cannot increase the number of days in a year, but we have to admit that until maybe 50 years ago, football was only national. Then a continental component came on top of the national component. Today, everyone, like the example of Liverpool, but many others as well, are looking at a global component as well for clubs and for national teams. And I think we need to, be able to discuss these things. Where we will go with that, well, we will see.